Welcome to the Midlife Edit, the podcast for women who are navigating the beautiful, messy, and sometimes sweaty journey of midlife. This isn't about a crisis, it's about an awakening. Join me, your host, Jen Weinstein, as I dive into all the things no one warned us about: hot flashes, brain fog, strength training, hormone balancing, and figuring out who the hell we are now. With a mix of expert insights, real talk, and a little humor, because if we're not laughing, we're crying, right? The Midlife Edit is your go-to space for embracing this season with confidence, strength, and balance. Whether you're trying to lift heavier, sleep better, set stronger boundaries, or just remember why you walked into a room, this podcast is here to remind you, midlife is not the end, it's just an edit, and you get to rewrite it your way. Hit subscribe and let's tackle midlife together, one episode at a time. This is the Midlife Edit. Let's make it a damn good chapter. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Midlife Edit. As always, I'm your host, Jen Weinstein, and today we're wrapping up my 5-part series on Midlife Nutrition Made Simple. Today's episode is all about brain food and body fuel. And a little bit later in the episode, I have a special guest, Dr. Marilyn Ward, to talk about nourishing your midlife from the inside out. But in this episode, we're not just talking about abs and avocado toast. It's about how food impacts things like your brain, your mood, and your energy, especially in midlife. So if you're one of those women who've said, I'm just tired all the time, no matter how much I get to sleep or how much I don't sleep or what kind of coffee or caffeine I'm consuming, I'm just always tired, stick around because this episode's for you. I have been like that for probably the past 2 or 3 weeks, just feeling kind of sluggish and crappy and miserable. So I've done my research. I reached out to the right people, and I want to share it with you. So the first thing we're going to talk about today is blood sugar, but it's not the topic for just people with diabetes. It's for all of us. When we're eating something super processed or carb heavy, think things like pastries and cereals or like a giant white bagel with nothing else, our blood sugar will spike quickly and we feel amazing, right? But only for like 20 minutes. And then, crash city. Suddenly we're foggy and we're cranky and we may crave sugar again, or you feel like just crawling up and taking a nap under your desk. Why? Well, blood sugar spikes from simple carbs or processed foods can trigger a quick insulin release. And then when it drops, it can lead to hunger and mood swings and headaches, anxiety, and serious fatigue. Your midlife body is more often insulin resistant, which means this roller coaster hits even harder now than it did in your 20s. So here's the truth. Whether you like it or not, if you're riding the carb roller coaster all day, your brain really never gets the fuel it needs to function clearly. And then your mood, well, it sucks. Buckle up for the ride. Whether you like it or not, it's going to have those ups and downs. So what about the gut-brain connection? I know it sounds weird, but your gut is basically your second brain. It's home to trillions of bacteria that send messages up to your actual brain, like a little text that says, hey, I'm happy, or no, I'm inflamed, I'm pissed. Why? Well, 90% of your serotonin, which is that feel-good hormone, is actually made in your gut. So when your gut microbiome is out of whack from too much sugar or alcohol or lack of fiber, it can lead to things like mood disorders or anxiety and depression and brain fog. And poor digestion and bloating isn't just uncomfortable, it's a signal that your gut's inflamed, which can affect your brain and your nervous system. So if your gut's not happy, your brain won't be either. And it's not just what you eat, it's how your body digests it and processes it. So what about inflammation from processed foods? Inflammation, that word, it gets tossed around a lot. But here's what it means for you. When you eat a diet full of ultra-processed stuff, like those sugary Starbucks drinks or packaged snacks or a quick frozen meal, your body treats it like an invader. Your immune system goes into like a constant defense mode. That low-grade inflammation over time, well, it can make you feel tired and anxious and puffy. Oh, the puffiness. And you're more likely to like snap out at your family for breathing too loud or chewing with their mouth open because you're in defense mode. Your body's in defense mode. Chronic Chronic inflammation can impact the nervous system, your hormone balance, your energy levels, and it can also worsen things like brain fog and irritability, low motivation, joint pain, and fatigue. Inflammation can also disrupt cortisol, which is your stress hormone, which affects your sleep and your weight and your mental clarity. So here's some more truth. If your food's making you inflamed, you're not just dealing with cravings, you're fighting a body that's constantly in survival mode. So if you're wondering why your energy crashes or your brain feels like it's running crazily, right? Start with your plate. Maybe it's time for a tune-up. I've talked a lot about why it's important to strength train and exercise, but honestly, the health of your body starts in the kitchen, right? So what do we want to focus on? Proteins. Proteins can help satiety and neurotransmitter support. Healthy fats can also help hormone and brain function. Complex carbs, energy and fiber. So, you want to get your complex carbs from things like your vegetables instead of reaching for those white breads. Fermented foods, they can help gut health and support mood, things like kimchi. And then, of course, hydration. Hydration helps focusing on digestion and your focus and fewer cravings. Like, did you ever hear anybody say to you, "Oh, you're not hungry, you're just thirsty, you're just dehydrated"? Um, the You want to make sure that you're hydrated and then see if you're hungry. So the goal is to eat food that loves you back, both your body and your brain. So with that, again, I have a special guest today, Dr. Marilyn Ward, who has a PhD in health and human performance. We had a really great interview, and I really hope you enjoy it. So without further ado, here's my interview with Dr. Marilyn Ward. My guest today is an Air Force military vet, a mother of two. She has a PhD in health and human performance. So I'd like to welcome Dr. Marilyn Ward. Welcome to the Midlife Edit.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So before we dive right in, tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got into this space.
Sure. As after I got out of the military, had two small children at home. I fell in love with fitness. I think in the military, I didn't appreciate it as much because we had to do it. But I had gained a lot of weight with both of my pregnancies. And so I became a product of my own, doing, I guess. So I was like, oh, I got to lose weight. I want to stay active. I have young children. So I would say in 2006 is when I lost all my weight just by going to the gym, working out. And my friends were noticing, they were watching and like, oh, how'd you do that? And I was like, oh, I don't know. I did start at a gym, had a wonderful mentor. She still is. She was the owner of a women's gym, and I kept going to all the classes and doing everything. And she's like, you should become a group instructor. I said, oh, okay. And then it went further. She's like, oh, well, we really need another trainer. I think you should become a trainer. And I said, sounds great. Let me try it. So I did that. But then I wanted to be like a full product for my clients. So then I went back to school. And that's kind of where my journey with education went. And I just, every time I'd get a degree, I was like, I think I want to go further. I think I want to go further. So ended up with a doctorate. I love what I do. I love helping people. Because I was active duty, I knew all about the military training program. So for my first few years, I stayed, I was still near the Air Force Base and was a contractor on the base. So I was helping others meet and exceed their goals for the military and hitting their requirements. And then it just exploded from there. And I continue to this day still helping people exceed their goals. So
That's amazing. That's
yeah,
awesome.
thank
Good
you.
for you. I love stories like that because I didn't gain my weight in pregnancy. I gained it years later, but I was in the same way. Like, hey, I've got to figure this out. I want to feel good in my body. So I
Yes.
love those stories. So we're going to dive into food. This is
Sure.
my part 5 of my midlife nutrition made simple. So we're wrapping it up today, but we're going to talk about brain food, and Body Fuel, because you're big on TikTok. I love your videos. And I see
Thank
that you
you.
talk a lot about these things. And I think that my audience, who are predominantly midlife women in perimenopause or menopause, could really benefit from a lot. Me too. A lot of this information. So, how does what we eat affect not just how we feel physically, but like emotionally and mentally?
Sure. Well, I'm glad that you brought up the fact about midlife because I will say food and nutrition and your physical activity does change as we get older. And most women don't understand that. And since we're probably mostly talking to women, I'll keep it that way. But we just think that we can keep doing the same thing that we did when we were younger, and it's not the same. So we need different food and different activities. So what we eat definitely affects how we feel, and it affects what our outcome. I always say garbage in, garbage out. You keep eating garbage, you're going to feel like garbage. So it is very important to feed the body correctly, and especially we don't talk about cognition when we're young, when we really should be talking about it, because as we get older, it gets, declines. So I think, but kids don't want to hear that, right? Kids don't want to hear that in school. When you're talking about cognitive health, well, it's the things that we do when we're young have that long-term effect. So now when we talk about our health in our midlife, we really need to focus on the right foods that are going to fuel the brain, not just our muscles, but also the brain. So yes, there's a um, huge connection there between what it is that we're eating and how it affects us mentally and physically.
Well, that leads me into my next question, which is basically what is the gut brain connection and why should we care as midlife women? I mean, you talked about it. As younger kids, we don't care. I
Yeah,
mean, I've got teenagers now that they'll just shove anything in their mouth because their metabolism's great and they can just go about their day. But I'm
right.
41, going to be 42 this year, and I'm like, oh man, I wish I would have taken better care of myself.
Oh, absolutely. And I think even like during pregnancy, I wanted to feel pregnant, look pregnant, be pregnant. And so I just ate everything and obviously had the repercussions of that. So definitely the gut brain health is so and I say this like kind of openly, no studies behind, I mean, just general studies behind it, but a lot of the disease and inflammation starts in the gut. So it starts by what we're eating, and most people do not have a healthy gut biome. So because of the stuff we eat, we in America, unfortunately, have the plethora of junk food, fast food. We are a fast food nation. We are a got to give it to me now, instant gratification, not really thinking about when we eat what it's going to do for us. We think about, oh, that tastes good. Oh, yum, that satisfies that urge. But we don't think about, well, what is that going to do for my body? What is that, how is this going to help my brain? So the two together, whatever is affecting us, so even if you just thought about it in the whatever you ate the last day, well, how did it make you feel? Okay, well, if I had chicken wings, did it make me feel good? Did it make me feel sluggish? Did it make me feel, we don't take an inventory of how these foods are really affecting how we feel. We just eat it. And if we feel bad the next day, whatever, you brush it off, you go on to the next thing. When really you have to sit and think about all these foods and how they made me feel. Well, if I'm eating a very clean diet, oh, I have more energy. I have more focus. I have, that mental clarity. But when you eat junk and, which, I'm very transparent. I love a good pizza and some French fries,
Same.
but you got to have balance. If you are going to eat that way, it should be sparingly, but you should always have that balance of coming back and really fueling yourself with the things that you need. So there's
Yeah.
definitely a connection with how we feel.
So I talk a lot about how we grew up in the 90s and early 2000s and about the fad diets then and about, you know, the ridiculous diets back then, and it was all cardio and 100-calorie packs and small meals. So with that, what are the biggest nutrition mistakes women our age and 40s and 50s and 60s make right now because we thought that way before.
Yes, and I grew up, I'm a little bit older than you, so I went through that whole fat-free diet era,
Mm-hmm.
right? Everything was fat-free, and I'm like, you're eating butter that's fat-free. Something doesn't make sense there when butter is made literally from fat. So I think for a lot of us, we also got stuck on that yogurt is good for you and granola is good for you. But they forget to tell you the minor details of the yogurt. Well, if you get the sweetened added fruit yogurt, if you look, now there's a ton of sugar. We don't think about that. We're like, well, it's yogurt and it's good for me. Granola, you dig into the food label. What is that made of? Well, there's usually 3 or 4 different added sugars: maple syrup, the brown sugar, molasses is always added to that granola, the granola to make it taste better. So I think many of us who grew up in those fad diet eras, like I have an entire book, like for my master's, that was my study. My thesis was in obesity. So I have all these diet books and I pick them apart because I do believe diet books are made, and these fad diets were made with certain specific people in mind, right? So they're not that they're bad, but they're not going to be for everybody. It might work for you, but it might not work for me. So I have tried to pick apart different things about it. And one that always sticks with me, and I won't say the name because I do love this diet towards the end, but it has you eating sugar-free Jello. Oh, you got to eat sugar-free Jello. If you have a sweet tooth, eat that sugar-free Jello. It's going to make you feel, it's going to hit that craving. Well, I bring it back to, well, what is sugar-free Jello doing for you? Like, what are these sugar-free products, 100-calorie snack packs, the what we think a healthy granola, what are they doing for us? Absolutely nothing. There's no nutritional value in these products, but we're so stuck in that fat-free, sugar-free, whatever we were used to back then, not realizing that, okay, there's so much science out there now. We know better, or at least we should know better.
We should know better. It's funny you say that because now we're talking about protein all the time, right? But
Oh,
brands have caught
huge.
on. So I was at the grocery store the other day and there was a box of cereal labeled high protein. But then I look at it and it's added sugars and all these additives. And I'm like, your protein is the first thing that's on there, but what else
Right.
is in there? And it's just like, the marketing people, they're good. They get you.
Oh, yes, I did a video on it specifically because that's what they are trying to sell. Back in the day, it used to be, oh, whole grains. That was your home marketing ploy, was the whole grains, heart healthy diet. And now you're right. Now protein, we're on this big kick of protein and the carnivore diet. And so you'll see that protein. And I keep telling people, you have if it's selling for protein, then that should outweigh everything else. Should be the
Mhm.
first ingredient on the list. It should your protein, if it should be 20 grams, and your carbs and everything else should be under that. And it's not. It'll be like
Mhm.
5 grams of protein. I'm like, how are you selling this as a protein product? And your sugar is still 20.
Mhm.
Like, it doesn't make sense. But again, it's that first look at the label. It's tricking us. It's meant, making us think, oh, this is a great product. And most people don't. I always say, become a label detective and look at the ingredients, because that's where the truth comes out. That's where you're going to find out exactly what that product is made of. And again, the type of protein. It could
Right.
be not an isolate. It could be a concentrate. And so, yeah, we just take too much social media at
Mhm.
face value instead of doing our own investigation. So we
Yeah.
really do have to be our own advocate and look at things, deeper.
I say it all the time. We have to advocate for ourselves.
Yeah.
So I just made a video this morning, but this week was my all of a sudden here comes another perimenopause symptom, and I've been exhausted. Doesn't matter how much sleep I'm getting, what I'm eating, drinking, whatever. So what would be some go-to foods? I'm your client and I come to you and I say, "Hey, this is what's going on with me. I don't want to keep doing energy drinks or pre-workouts or things like that. So what are some foods that I can eat for energy and focus?"
Oh, that's awesome. And being at the opposite age, my niece just called me yesterday for the same thing. Of course, now she's young, But she's like, well, I was told that this is the best pre-workout supplement on the market. She goes, and it actually made her sleepier. So I was like, honey, we got to go natural. So if you were coming to me as a client, I said, well, let's first kind of see what it is you're doing, what it is that you're currently eating, because we have to take an inventory of where you're already at, where you're currently. But then go natural. So your B vitamins, your B complex, B12, B6, which you can buy that as a supplement. If you're eating enough protein, you're probably getting that. Any of your antioxidants, so berries, green tea, they're not only are they a natural energy boosting food, they are an antioxidant. And so what that does, it goes in and keeps your cells clean. So when your cells are clean, the blood's flowing better and you've got great energy naturally. Other foods, hot foods, keeping your metabolism high. So capsaicin, like what you find in red chili pepper flakes. So adding natural spice, adding jalapenos if you can handle it in your food, because that's naturally boosting your metabolism because it's hot and it's naturally speeding up your metabolism. So I always am a firm believer in getting it naturally before taking a supplement. But a lot of people, I've had a lot of vegans and vegetarian where they're not getting like B12 in their diet. So they have to take a supplement, have to take a pill. But you can get that naturally if you're eating meat products. But
My
definitely
husband is
go
going to
natural.
love that. He's going to listen to this and say, "Oh, did you hear what she said? We're going to add jalapenos to everything now."
I
um,
love them. And
Me
so
too.
they don't, but yeah, I
Me
like
too. I
spicy.
do. I like spicy foods, but sometimes, the heartburn gets to me.
That too. I've just been diagnosed with GERD. I was like, what is this old age lady thing? What is GERD?
It's coming out of everywhere. You're like left and
Yeah,
right, and you're like, "Oh, that's new. Okay."
yeah,
But I do love that we're talking about it so much more now, and we're saying, "Hey, look, this is what we can do to feel better as we grow older."
yes.
And it's just, I love finding people like you on social media. That's what I love. Social media sucks sometimes, and I talk about that a lot. But being able to connect with people, I mean, you're in Florida. So like we're very
Yeah,
far apart, but being able to connect with you and see your videos and it resonates with me so well, and sharing it with
yeah.
other people because we weren't taught these things when we were.
There used to be you didn't talk about
Yeah.
women problems. You did not
Mhm.
talk about women problems. And just not a few months ago, I was at a dinner party and our friends were like, it's okay. We're going to talk about it. We got to stop hushing all these problems because that's what makes more women, like they just want to be shut. And I was like, no, we got to. So she was great. She's like, let's talk about it. You've got this problem. Okay. I have this problem. Let's share and make it so women can be open with their, problems, if you will. I'm like, they're not problems. This is life.
Right. Right. And we
And
all
we're all
experience
going
different
through it.
things. All
Yeah.
going through it at different rates and different, but it's funny because I'll find some girlfriends who are like, "Yeah, I have that same symptom. Like I had itchy ears for like 6 months straight." And I thought I was going crazy. And they're like, "No,
Yeah.
you're okay."
Yeah.
So other than just the go-to foods for energy and focus, are there any underrated foods that you think we should be eating more of on a daily basis that we don't really talk about, I guess?
Well, I would say so. Eggs are one of these foods that one year it's good for you, one year it's bad for you. And so I've been having a battle with my primary care advisor. So she think, like, and I don't know, 'cause you're still young, but cholesterol. The
Mhm.
cholesterol testing years ago used to be way higher, like the limit. You could have like a 300 and something and you were great. Now, if you have anything above, I don't know, 230, 250, well, now you got to get on a pill. And I was like, no, like, no, like, where did this all of a sudden change that cholesterol? Well, you realize, and that whole nother topic is the pharmaceuticals and what they're pushing.
Right.
So I think eggs were taking such a bad rap, but eggs have like all the protein properties that you need in a good in your diet. And I think eggs have taken a bad rap again. So I think it's an underrated food that, but it's such a good versatile food. You make hard boiled eggs as a snack. You're gonna have some, and if you're worried about cholesterol, pop the yolk out, and you're still gonna get the albumin, the whites. and that's where, all that protein is coming from. So I think that's a food that I find myself eating a lot more of. And tuna, because tuna is an excellent um, that you can get, whether it's fresh. I don't like, I do eat canned tuna. I get laughed at sometimes because, it's, not the best source of tuna, but it's another one I think it's easy to add into your diet. And it's very high in protein, like 30
Absolutely.
grams in one small can. Yeah. So I'd
Awesome.
say protein.
So we're talking about food, and a lot of us in midlife are busy. I mean, we still have kids that we're raising, or we're getting promotions or taking care of ailing parents. There's always something going on, right? As women, so how can we build? I talked the other day about meal prepping and meal planning, but how do you build a balanced day of eating without making it feel like a chore? Just another thing on our list.
Right. I am a firm believer in meal prepping when you're actively at work. So I work from home now, so I've been a little bit spoiled, but I will say to keep that, to keep from reaching for something bad when you come home. All right, so let's say you've had a busy day at work. Now you got trying to deal with the kids, you're trying to cook. And what do? We start eating. We start eating while we're cooking because we're so ravenous. So you start eating while you're cooking, then you sit down to eat, and then you eat some more of that meal. So you're overdoing your calories. So if you meal prep, not just with your meals for lunch and meals for the week, I used to make this big veggie tray, still do. I make a big veggie tray with like the good veggies, not just your simple carrots and celery, but the veggies that are going to do something for you, like your broccoli, your cauliflower. And then mine has two little dishes in it that I put the hummus, and then I do add the yogurt ranch. So it's a snack. So the kids can have a healthy snack while we're prepping. I can have a healthy snack while I'm prepping. You're taking those same vegetables. I had a whole series on where you take your leftover meal from the night before and you make something different out of it the next day. Because how many times have we bought groceries and they went bad because we didn't use them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you take that meal and whatever you have left over the next day, you're going to make something different out of it, or you're going to make a lunch out of it. We do have to plan ahead because it's too easy to eat whatever when we come home.
Yeah.
So I meal prepping is huge, and I think when you do get to plan ahead, you can be more creative because you're simplifying it so you can be more creative with your meals. Nobody wants to eat the same meal. Your body doesn't want to eat the same meal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Like repurposing your meals every day.
Yes.
That's great. Um, so let's talk about hydration and performance because, again, the way we grew up, I mean, I was never told to drink water when I was younger. It was like, oh, the Kool-Aids and the sugary stuff and the juice
Yeah.
boxes. So, what are some signs of dehydration and that we can mistake of just like, oh, I'm just getting older? I mean, for me, I already know that my skin will tell me if I'm dehydrated.
Yes. And as we get older, we still need that water. So I tell people, especially my kids, when they're like, I'm hungry, mom, I'm hungry. Now my kids are grown, but I do have a grandbaby. I'm just
Oh,
like, you have got to, I said, you're not hungry. You're either bored or you're thirsty. So I tell people, make sure you're drinking enough water. But a lot of I worked in a senior home, and the reason why they don't want to drink the water is because they don't want to have that accident, right? They don't want to get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, or they don't want to have an accident when they're out and about through the day, so they won't drink water. Well, men get it too, but like women, they'll get a UTI. Well, a UTI can make, like, it gives you signs like Lulu, like
yeah.
mental issues from not drinking water. So I can't express enough how important hydration is, not just for that, but also for your weight loss. So anybody going through weight loss, you're consuming all these foods. Well, it's got to get pushed out. It's got to get flushed out somehow, and that's going to come from the water. So drinking enough water to keep the body flushed, keep the body hydrated. They've changed the recommendation. It used to be 8 8-ounce glasses, so 64 ounces of water a day. And now I think it's almost, I think it's 11 or 11 points, like some weird number, but they did increase it. And if you're like for me in Florida and you're outside and you're active, it's really based on your activity level, how long you're outside, and how much you're perspiring. And then with that, you got to add electrolytes.
Hmm.
So
That was my next question.
if you're expelling a lot of sweat, you don't want to overhydrate and lose your electrolytes because that gives you the homeostasis. And if your homeostasis is off, well, then that has its own set of problems. So making sure you have enough water. And I say, like, if you're really active, and I'm sure up north in the summer and if you're active doing a sport, one water to maybe, or maybe two waters to one electrolyte, or, like listen to your body. And if you're a sweater, my sister was a big sweater. Like if she sweat, you could see it on her arms. Like you could see like the white salt. So she would have to take more than I ever would. So definitely listen to your body because it does talk to you in a
Yeah.
sense.
And I think hydration too is kind of like that hanger. Like if you are really dehydrated, it can control your mood and your cravings.
Oh
And
yeah.
like you said, I mean, you tell your kids you're not hungry. Maybe you're just thirsty.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Totally.
Um, so for the busy, burned out midlife woman, what's the best place to start? So say that like I've never dealt with any of this in my life, and now I was always thin, and now I'm in my 40s and I'm gaining that flat tire around my waist and I'm tired all the time and I don't know what to do. So what's the first place you would start?
Ooh, get active. Get and for most people, it's the best activity that I could recommend for anybody is getting out and walking. Walking is going to be the easiest if you're mobile. Okay, so let's throw that in there. If you are mobile and you are able to walk, walking is the easiest thing to do. If you're inside, there's great videos that you can do walking videos. Like let's say you can't go outside, it's snowing, storming, cold. There's walking videos, but I would recommend outside walking because again, it's the sunlight, it's the vitamin D, it's just the fact of being outside and it makes you feel better. But it's one of the easiest things and it will help increase your metabolism. So when you become more active and you stay active. The more we sit down, the more we want to sit down, the more our body wants, and we sit down. So you can have that cycle go either way, good or bad. But I would say walking, easiest, quickest thing that somebody can do, cost efficient, cost no money to do it.
Awesome. Well, along those lines, let's take walking out of the equation. What one
Okay.
daily habit has the biggest payoff for feeling better fast?
Ooh, it's always the small steps, the smallest steps that you can do. So I would say start with your eating because it has to be something that you can control every day. And if you ever think about a wellness journey, you can work out all day long and maybe lose a pound, maybe. But if you just watch what you ate in one day, immediately you're going to see a difference on the scales. So that's why we always say as a coach that your wellness is 80% nutrition and 20% physical. So I would definitely say if you can tweak your diet every day, something different, whether you're adding something new or you're taking like something new good, or you're taking out something bad. So let's say as simple as having a cup of coffee in the morning. I have coffee every day. Now, what are you putting in your coffee? Because the coffee itself isn't bad. Caffeine is a natural fat metabolizer, right? So it's already doing something. But most people are putting a heavy sugary cream in their coffee or scoops of sugar. So let that be your one thing that you just change and look at and see what it does at the end of a week. See if it makes a difference in how you feel because sugar makes you sluggish. It's a high spike and then you drop. So change your coffee because that's a simple one. If you're drinking soda, you gotta mix the soda. Um, Another simple one, chips. Who doesn't want to chips with their sandwich? But it's those easy. So really it's just cutting out anything that you know is not doing something good for you and adding every day. So like I've been on this weird kick of adding one different fruit a day or one fruit a week, because we as older adults, we don't need fruit like we did when we were kids. 1.5 cups is a serving. That's all we need. But that's a whole banana is your whole serving for the day, like if not more. So you have to be careful with your fruit. So I try to add something different. So right now, papaya has been out. So I bought a papaya and I ate it all week long. I shared it with my dogs because it's good for your dogs. So maybe the next week you add something else. Try to find those superfoods like that are out there that are high in antioxidants, doing something great for the body, and adding it in your diet. It also helps expand your palate.
So along those lines, really quick, this wasn't on my list, but I did see your papaya video. Can you talk a little bit about eating the seeds and why we should be
So
doing
I
that?
Yeah, so I read that from another girl, and I'm one of those, I got to look it up and I got to see the studies. But a lot of the fiber and a lot of the good antioxidants, the properties are found in the seeds. Now, I will tell you those seeds are peppery for sure. Like, ooh, I ate like several and I was like, oh, nope, cannot do. So, and we throw a lot of that stuff away.
Mm-hmm.
So now of course always look it up for you individually because you might be allergic, whoever's watching, it's definitely an individual, but always try to see if the whole fruit is good for you, because we know the skin of fruit is good for us, the fiber, but you got to wash it, you got to make sure that it's good, and then the seeds too. But it goes both ways. Like some rinds, like you're not supposed to eat some certain rinds aren't good for you, like watermelon rind, melon. So you do have to like do a little bit of research again. But I just happened to find that on somebody else's researched it and was like, that's awesome. So
That's so
yeah.
cool. All right. Well, before we wrap up here, I like to do some rapid fire fun questions.
Okay.
Um, what's your favorite brain food?
Oh, walnuts.
We talked about eggs, so let's take eggs away. If you can't have eggs, what's your go-to breakfast?
Ooh, avocado toast.
Ooh.
On my new homemade sourdough bread that I'm getting so good at, sort of.
Are you? I've been
Not
wanting to do
really.
it.
It's
Oh.
terrible. I make 2 hockey pucks and a very pale loaf of bread. So
You'll get there. I
yeah,
see people do it all the time and I'm so jealous and I'm like, I just need to be patient. I can do it.
it is a process. It's a very big commitment.
Yeah. um, coffee. You said you have coffee. Is it your best friend or your worst enemy?
It is my best friend. It is my one thing, but I use heavy whipping cream in my coffee. All the fat, no sugar. It keeps me satiated. So I do it like as an intermittent fasting, but technically you're not supposed to have anything more than 50 calories. But again, it helps me like after I drink it, I don't eat lunch again until like 11 or 12. So
Yeah. Well, and again, what works for you may not work for the other, and what works for
right,
me. So you got to have to play with it a little bit.
yeah.
And lastly, what's a wellness myth you're tired of busting?
Oh, I would say the granola. Like, quit thinking granola is healthy. It's not. We eat it because it's crunchy, but it's not that it's, and it tastes good, but we're not eating it for our health.
Yeah.
So I get it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what I was always told granola with yogurt was good for you. And then I
Yes,
look at it now and I'm like, holy cow.
not so
No
much.
wonder
Yeah.
I had a crash.
Yeah.
So, if somebody was looking for you, where can we find you?
So my website is www.noexcusesmarilynward.com. I am also on TikTok, I think just as No Excuses. On all social media platforms I'm on as No Excuses. And then on my website I'll have my business line and email. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, we will make sure to link those in the show notes. And I really appreciate you taking the time today. It was great to learn
Yes,
about you and everything that you're doing, and
thank you.
keep fighting the good fight for us.
Yes, and you as well. Thank you. This has been awesome. And I love watching your stuff. You're very motivational and inspirational. So it's great. This is a
Thanks so much.
great network.
It really is. Thank you. I appreciate it. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. All right.
I just wanted to say thanks again to Dr. Marilyn Ward. It was such a great conversation that we had. So go follow her on TikTok. She's got some really great videos. I'm going to link everything in the show notes. But thanks for sticking around for this 5-part series. Believe me, I'm not done talking about nutrition. I'm not done talking about strength training, but a little bit more into this podcast, we're going to start talking about other things too, like mindset or career changes or empowerment. We're going to talk about all things midlife. So make sure that you like and subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. But also, if this is an episode that you're thinking of somebody specific, whether it's your mom or your sister or your friend or your aunt, and you know that they would really, really benefit from this, please share it with them because, we were never taught a lot of this stuff when we were growing up. And then you think about the generation before us, and they absolutely weren't taught. So we're trying to break that cycle, and we're trying to teach and learn all about midlife and the women's bodies in midlife and beyond, and menopause and perimenopause. And if you are anything like me and you've been stuck for the past couple weeks, follow me on Instagram. Let's do this together. Listen, again, midlife isn't a decline. It's a chance to feel better than ever, right? We can change this. We can change the way we feel, and we can do it together. So maybe this week, drink more water, eat one brain-loving food daily, or maybe just journal how you feel after you eat. That's something that's really helped me to notice, okay, I ate this is how it made me feel. It did really good. Or an hour later, I was hungry again, or whatever it is. If you start writing these things down, even just in your notes app, it could really help you determine what's working for you and what's not. So make sure to do that. Tag me if there's something cool or new that you're trying, or send me a DM and let me know how things are going for you. I'm here to listen as well. We're all in this together. Make sure you check out the midlifeeditco.com. That is my website. You can find all things midlife there. And make sure that you're following me on Instagram at @thejenweinstein. If you haven't joined the Midlife Gains Club yet, please do. That's the one on Facebook. I'll link that in the notes as well. But until next time, this is the Midlife Edit. Let's make it a damn good chapter. We'll see you next week.